Hello guys! To start, I'm using a charcoal pencil and a stencil to make my moon. And then I'm using titanium white. And I'll be using red oxide, yellow oxide, and titanium white to mix and going around the circle. I'm using a number 4 round brush. And then at the bottom, I'm just coloring in my shapes. I could have done like a whole color, solid color on the bottom and then do the white lines over top, but I decided to do it this way. And then I'm using a 0 filbert brush with yellow oxide and white. And I'm going across the middle. And then with light red, I'll be painting the top. The light red looks a lot like a dark orange, and then I'm using a medium red for the very top. And I'm just bringing that color down. And then I'm using the light red. And then I'm going over again with just red. And then I'm using the yellow oxide, light red, and white. And I'm letting each layer dry before adding other layers. So I'm just letting each layer dry in between. Some layers that are still wet near the bottom, I'll go over just to let it mix a bit. At the bottom there, closer to the white, I'm just adding more white to the mix. Here I'm adding yellow oxide and white. And I'm just doing the same technique and just going over just until I get that nice blend. So it's going to take a lot of layers, but I'll keep on adding layers until I'm happy with the blending. I'm just bringing my lighter colors upwards, using the side of the filbert brush to make some lines. Here I'm using a lot more white to bring out the lines. And I'm just making some dabs, just using the filbert brush in the middle to just dab a little bit to create some effects. Especially when there's just a little bit of paint on the brush. Works nice just to do some dabs. And then I'm using the number 2 round brush for more finer details. And I'm going over with the yellow oxide just to warm up those edges. Add a little bit of that golden color to it. Then I've got a little bit of light red. And I'm bringing that down in between the yellows, just to define some more lines. And then I'm using a transparent mixing weight. What I love about this color is that it lightens up the area a little bit without having to cover the color. And then I'm using white for some spots. And I'm using all 3 to mix. And I'm just dabbing them on. I'm using a Scrumbler Select brush from Princeton, a number 2. And I'm just doing a bunch of dabbing and kind of letting the brush do the work, getting that a lot of the spottiness and kind of like that rough look. If you don't have this brush, you can always use a small round hog hair brush. Then I'm just using only red oxide. And once again, I'm just dabbing some areas, adding some darker tones. And I'm also following along with my reference photo, just to help guide me where to put some colors. And I'm back using my round brush. I'll have all the supplies in the description that I use. And then I'm mixing those two. The Ivory Black I like to mix with because it's not as strong and it's more transparent than the Mars Black. I find black a very strong color, and so even mixing a little bit can really change the red quite a lot. So at least this way it just changes up a bit, and it's still allowing the color underneath it to show through. And with this, I get some variant, so I can go really light with it in some spots, and then if I want to go a little darker, I can just add another layer in some spots. And then here I'm using black just for the darker areas. And then I'm just cleaning up my edges with Mars Black. And here is the fun part. I'm using Frisket film. And this can be kind of tricky. But I'm just peeling off the back. You can use masking tape too if you don't have this. But I just cut that circle and I'm placing it on there, kind of like a sticker. And then I'm mixing white with a little bit of water and using a toothbrush and just flicking on the paint. Then I'm just peeling that off and adding more stars. And voila, there's the finished piece. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. Bye!